England expected the dear old metro to take on the world. And while the world may not have gone for it, you see a few in France and Italy, the car meant to replace the Mini certainly took the home market by the ears. The British motoring public bought it in their thousands.
A British car to beat the world.
A sensible little car is what most people think of used metros. An unintimidating small hatchback, a motorised shopping trolley, ideal for trundling round the garden centres or squeezing into little spaces at the supermarket. Metros may be easy to park, cheap to insure and run on fumes, but are they any good for more demanding motoring?
Not really. The new Metro, launched last year, is a much better car. It may look the same on top, but it's vastly different underneath. But the old Metro is simply too rough, too temperamental, too aged and too unrefined to be taken seriously as a second-hand car. And this is our point, that the old Metro has all the finesse and the subtlety of a thumb in the eye, and that for more or less the same money, there are much better second-hand cars. Take a look at any similarly aged Fiesta, Polo, Nova, Peugeot 205, and not only will they look fresher and be less rusty, they will drive and ride infinitely better.
This year's Which Car Buying Guide puts it like this. All 83 to 88 models were below average for rust. On reliability, they said that the Metro 1000 is looking poor and the Metro 1300 is worse than average. Other small cars, however, didn't fare quite so badly.
I suppose the leader in the field, you would have to say, probably as a result of good build quality, is probably the Polo, the Volkswagen Polo. But the Fiesta and the Nova are both very close behind. There are others, of course. But all three of those, the Polo, the Fiesta, the Nova, pound for pound, they're going to give you better value and more reliable motoring, I would say, than the same age Metro.
Now, the motor trade say that the only thing an old Metro does well is rust, and they'd be right. Take a look at the appalling condition of the front wings on this 85 50,000 mile MG. Now, you just don't see Peugeot 205s and Fiesta XR2s of the same age with this sort of advanced corruption.
That's not to say most of them look this bad. Austin Rover did offer a rust warranty, which had to be inspected every year, and many owners simply didn't bother, thus voiding their warranty. Newer cars have problems too, like this D-Reg with its bubbling front wings. And even this 88E registration is starting to look a touch scabrous in some rather surprising places.
The Metro does have a name for being probably the rustiest of the small hatchbacks. It's probably deserved as well, because the front wings do rust. The front valance, that's the panel below the front bumper, also rusts. And both areas are quite noticeable, even at quite a young age. However, it's not the end of the world. The front wings are bolt-on, so they're quite easily changed. The front valance panel is fairly easily changed by a body shop. The whole job can be done, probably for less than £200, including a good paint job. So it really is not the end of the world.
It's not all rosy with the mechanics either. Crankshafts can fail at as little as 30,000 miles, which means big bills. Gearboxes, particularly on pre-88 cars, can cause problems, again at quite low mileages. And on older Metros, watch the rear radius arms. They're part of the rear suspension. There are more problems with the hydrogas suspension units themselves. Uneven tyre wear is the clue.
In extreme cases, you can get this rather drunken body lean, but you can pump the suspension units up again to sobriety at about a tenner a go. But equally, you could be faced with replacing one or maybe two of the suspension units at 130 quid a corner. And don't expect any rushes of adrenaline from behind the wheel. This driving position comes straight out of a double-decker, and for a bloke like me, the dinky little seats would keep an osteopath in work for months. On the motorway, it's a buzz box, and on anything less than a billiard table, it rattles like a tin tray full of crockery. But perhaps I'm being a bit too beastly to the dear little Metro. There are plenty of people who love the Group 1 insurance, the economy, the front-wheel drive handling, and are perfectly happy just bumbling about.
But one surprise is that pre-1989 versions won't run on unleaded without a pricey £400 conversion.
There's even an automatic Metro, as driven by all the best blue rinsers. But unless you've got a sense of humour, the demented wailing of the little box that sings up and down the gears could well put you off. The auto box also makes the front end very heavy, so there's an awful lot of steering effort required. That was second gear, that's third gear, and fourth gear at 28 miles an hour. So really, it's got all the performance and agility of the Albert Memorial.
Price-wise, reckon on used Metros being around 400 quid less than a similar Fiesta or Nova. But think hard, it might be a false economy.
It's not a nice car to drive, and it takes a lot of maintenance to keep it running properly. But having said that, it's a practical town car. It carries a lot in the back with the seats folded down, and it nearly always does 40 to the gallon.
I accept that there's going to be the odd stone chip on the front, but rust is erupting all the way up the bonnet and along the doors. I certainly wouldn't have another one. I've had two already, and that's enough.
It's falling apart at the seams. We've had trouble with the sunroof leaking, the battery keeps going, we've got holes in the wings where the rust has become a great problem. We've had a new spoiler on it, it keeps breaking down. I'm always having to phone work in the morning to say I'm going to be late in. It's not much fun. And when you're driving a young son around, it's not much fun either. Basically, I wouldn't buy another one if you paid me.
So if you really want to drive the flag, we say go for the latest Metro. Only problem is the cheapest second-hand ones are still around the £5,000 mark.
And if the budget won't stretch to one of those, we recommend you go for a Mini instead. Chances are it'll be more fun, hold its value longer, and stand a sporting chance of starting in the morning.
You know, it is incredible, isn't it, that just, 6 or 7 years ago, Rover were making rust buckets like those old Metros. And here they are today, snapping at BMW's heels with this. Now, the only time you're going to find a change as fast as that is in Dame Edna Everidge's dressing room.